or thereabout?
June 26, 21. Okay, so I contacted Mr. Martin, that was on Saturday, for him to come out and give me a quote for concrete pad. The original size was maybe a little smaller than what the 24 by 40, but it's actually 20, it was 20 by 40. Mr. Martin then he suggested that the first spot was not a good spot because it needed a lot of work to build up. He gave me a price on it. I thought about it, and I found a new location in my yard that worked for me and worked for what I needed. So he came back out on the 28th, I think it was June 28th, 2021, and gave me a new quote for that, a new price for that.
For the new size and the new location?
Correct.
Okay. And what was the new size?
24 feet by 40 feet.
Okay. When did you tell him about putting a garage on it?
I told him that on June 26, 2001, the original day, Saturday.
Okay. And how did you tell him about it?
I showed him the dimensions, the printout that I got from the metal building company that they provided me. I showed him that.
Okay. And that was before he started pouring?
Yeah.
And okay. So at some point you pay him?
Correct.
How much did you pay him?
I think it was $3,100.
Okay. And that was to get him started?
Right. That was after he came out and framed. He did the groundwork and framed the location.
Okay. Like put the forms out?
Forms.
Okay. And so then on July 14th, you made a subsequent payment?
Yes.
How much was that?
It was the remaining amount.
Okay. If I said $36.50, is that
Yes.
some? Okay. So let me ask you this. You got P1 in front of you?
Yes.
What is that?
That's the invoice or quote from Mr. Martin.
Okay. Is that a true and accurate copy?
Yes.
I tender P1, Your Honor.
Mr. Broder.
No objection, Your Honor.
And Mr. Broder, just to step forward, so I have P1 through P21. Should I anticipate objections on any of these?
Maybe with respect to some of the text, Your Honor. So
Okay.
I think depending on what happens with P9 and 10.
Okay.
But I don't, with respect to the videos, proposals, pictures, no.
All right, just trying to forecast what I need to be looking at. All right, P1 is tendered and admitted without objection.
Okay. So what's the date on P1? It's at the bottom.
June 26, 2021.
So when did you got this after he came out and this is the quote he generated from the visit?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the size slab on that?
24 feet by 40 feet.
What's that again?
20 feet by 40 feet.
Okay. You have P2? You can unclip those. It's easier.
Yes.
Okay. And what is that?
This is the second quote from Mr. Martin for the new location in my yard.
Well, is it a quote? Read the top of it. What is it?
Well, it's actually an invoice.
Yeah, receipt, right?
Receipt.
Is that a true and accurate copy of it?
Yes, it is.
I tender P2, Your Honor.
Objection?
No objection.
All right, it's tendered and admitted without objection.
Okay, so this is when you made your payment to get them started, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that evidence is the 3,100 you talked about earlier.
Correct.
Okay. And when was that? At the bottom.
July 10th, 2021.
Okay. So when you paid the second payment, was that before or after the concrete was poured?
That was after.
Okay. You have P3 in front of you?
Yes.
What is that?
So that was on the day that the concrete was actually poured. The top surface, it wasn't smooth.
Okay, wait a second. So this is just a picture of the top of the pad.
Right.
Okay, is that true and accurate depiction?
Correct.
I tender P3, Your Honor.
Objection?
No objection, Your Honor. We'll stipulate through P7.
Great.
Oh, okay.
All right, then I'm gonna go ahead and say that you're tendering all through 7?
Yes, sir.
All right, then I'm gonna go ahead and just say 3 through 7 are tendered and admitted without objection. When we get to 8, we'll start it.
Yes, sir. So what's this picture of exactly? Tell the court what you were taking a picture of.
I was taking a picture because it wasn't smooth. The concrete wasn't uniform across. Like, I guess what it's called is troweling, when they smooth the top and put a slick surface over the top of the concrete. It was a ripple defect in the top of it.
Are these like pits?
Yeah, pits.
Like
It
pitted?
almost looked like it was pouring down, raining, and it was just, the concrete was still wet.
Made dimples or
Correct.
little divots in. Okay. And you noticed this when?
The same day he had.
Okay, so later that day after it had been poured?
Yeah, because I got home after they finished pouring from work.
Okay. So you got P4 in front of you.
Correct.
What's this depict?
Well, this right here was when I had Mario, which is the person that fixed the concrete.
Okay.
He came out and he was checking the levelness of the concrete, and that red line is the string that he strung across, and it's a gap. It was a noticeable gap from it being 4 inches on the left side and the right side, but when you get towards the middle, it was clearly less than 4 inches.
Okay, and then flip it over. What's the next picture show?
The next picture shows on the far side, one of the sides that was supposed to be 24 inches wide.
24 inches?
24 feet
Okay.
wide, I'm sorry. 24 feet wide. It was coming up less than 24 feet wide. I forgot the exact measurement, but that line clearly showed where it was supposed to be, where the concrete was supposed to stop and where it did not stop.
So essentially it's not square, it's got an indentation?
Correct.
Okay. And then the next picture, is that a picture of the same spot? And then the spot you've, I guess, highlighted or circled, that's the same spot?
Correct.
And then the next picture?
That's Mario and his wife. They were out there measuring and, showing where it was not, it's not complete, it's not done correctly.
Okay. Jump to 5. You got P5 in front of you?
Yes.
And what does that show?
That right there is a measurement showing where 24 feet would have been and where the concrete actually stopped. And the concrete was actually supposed to go out to 24 feet.
Okay. Did this create problems for you
Yes.
in installation of your garage?
It did. It held up the process.
Okay. When were you set to have it installed?
There was no exact date because it was a backup because of COVID with metal and such that it wasn't an exact date, but they wind up calling during this process of trying to get it fixed, and I couldn't get it installed.
So when did Mario come out and tear up the pad and pour the new one? How long after?
Oh, it's probably about 3 months because I gave Mr. Martin time to come out and reach out and try to make things right.
Okay. You got P6 in front of you?
Yes.
And what does that first picture show?
That picture shows the side of the concrete. It's supposed to be 4 inches thick, and it was less than 4 inches thick.
Okay, that's like the edge? You're talking about the edge?
Right.
Yeah, okay. And then the next picture?
Same thing, it's a different area that came up less than 4 inches thick along the edge.
Okay. And the next one? these different spots?
These are different spots.
Okay.
All
And-
different spots.
And that next one shows a different spot, but shows what?
Way less than, 4 inches thick.
Okay. Next picture?
Same thing. We're in a different location around the pad, and it's not consistent.
So these are different locations along the
different
pad.
locations.
It's not like the same picture of
No,
the same spot.
No.
Okay. Next picture?
absolutely not. Yeah, but the same thing,
Okay. Different location.
different location.
Next one?
This might. Nah, this is. I think that's a different location too. This is just not there. It's not what we agreed to.
Okay. And then the next one?
That's a picture of Mario, measuring the thickness of the edge, the perimeter of the slab, and showing that it's not there.
Okay. And then the next picture? Well, essentially, the next three pictures, these are just different locations where
Yeah.
you measure, right?
Right.
Okay. We're not gonna beat that horse today. P7, you have that in front of you?
Yes.
And what's going on here?
Here, we strung the string across, and again, the string was level on the opposite, on both ends, the left and the right end of the pad. So this was towards the middle where you can see, I guess that's about an inch, short of being level with the other ends of the pad.
Okay, so the other ends though, the string is on the pad.
Right.
Okay.
Completely on the pad.
So this is like a dip in the pad, essentially.
Correct.
Okay. The next picture?
This is a totally different location where the same thing, the same issue, where it's less than I don't know the measurement, but it's less than it's not within spec of where it should be.
Okay. And then the remaining pictures are essentially the same thing,
Yeah.
different locations?
Different locations.
Okay.
These are all different locations.
P8, you have that in front of you?
Yes.
And what is it?
This is the invoice from Lowe's where I purchased the rebar.
Okay. Is that a, hold on, is that a true and accurate copy of it?
Yes, it is.
I tender P8.
Objection?
No objection.
All right, 8 is tendered and admitted without objection.
Okay, so how much, this is the rebar itself, this isn't the mesh, right?
This is, just the rebar, 20-foot rebar.
And how much did you pay for that?
$226.41.
Okay, and you had that, did you have it delivered to your house? Did you pick it up?
Mr. Martin actually picked it up here in Griffin, Georgia.
Okay.
It was the Lowe's that he recommended because he, I guess, deal with them a lot. He knew they had it in stock.
Yeah.
The Lowe's near me did not have it in stock.
Okay.
So he picked it up and brought it to the job.
Okay. And you paid this invoice?
Correct.
And it was how much?
$226.41.
Okay. You got P9 in front of you?
Yes.
And what is that?
This is a text message, well, one of the texts from, that I sent, or sending between me and Trevor Martin, which is, I guess, Trent Martin's son.
Okay, hold on. Are these true and accurate copies?
Yes.
A tender P9?
All right, objection?
No objection.
All right, P9 is tendered and admitted without objection.
Okay, so what, in this conversation between you and Mr. Martin's son, what transpired?
Well, this was different days. So June 28th, that was when I texted them the new location, because I wasn't gonna be home when they had a chance to come out to see and measure and give the quote for the new location. Then the next text where it says, "Got him tied up." My dog was loose in the backyard, so Mr. Trevor Martin, he tied him up for me so that they could, well, not tie him up, but put him on a leash so
Okay,
that
yeah.
they could go in the backyard. Then Trevor Martin also sent me the shopping list for Lowe's for the things that I need, the wire mesh and the rebar.
Okay. And then that next page, this is what is that?
Another text, well, the text where I was confirming that he wanted me to get 20 sticks or bars of rebar,
Mm-hmm.
and then the receipt where I purchased it at Lowe's on July 13th.
Okay, and you just send them a copy of the confirmation number.
Yeah, so they could get it.
Okay. Next page.
Next page is again where I sent Trevor Martin pictures of the metal garage, and I sent it to him because when they sent me pictures of where they were prepping the site, and there was a drainage pipe that they installed, and I wanted to make sure that they installed it in a convenient location.
Okay.
So
this is the basic building you wanted to put up and ended up putting up.
correct.
Okay.
I couldn't send it to Mr. Martin because Mr. Martin called me.
Oh, okay. And then the next page.
These were pictures where Trevor Martin was sending me from when I was at work, showing me where where everything was, what they were doing right before they got ready to pour. He sent me pictures of the rebar that he had installed, and then he sent me pictures letting me know that they were done pouring the concrete.
That's the bottom one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then the next page, that's the port pad.
Yes. Port pad, and then that was on the 14th of July, 2021. Then on the 15th, 2021, that's when I text Trevor Martin to let him know that the pad is up to par.
Okay, so the next page. These are these the same pictures we were just looking at?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. And you were just making them aware of these issues?
Correct.
Yeah. And the next page, same thing?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was the pour date again? The date the pad went in?
July 14th, 2020.
So these pictures are the next day.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think it says July 15th right above that.
That's what I saw. I didn't know if July 15th was the second set of pictures or the first set of pictures. I was trying to figure out if this was the same day or another day.
The pictures with the tape measure are the 15th,
That's correct.
according to this.
And
And
the
then
pictures of the pour,
we're the 14th.
14th.
okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
If you look above the building, there's the dates right up there.
Next.
Yes, right there.
No.
Oh, that one. Oh, that's the one I passed over to Mr. Hope. That's my problem.
Okay.
Let Mr. Hope track along. All right, I'm sorry to interrupt the flow.
No, it's fine.
That's my fault.
You have P10 in front of you?
Yes.
Yeah. What's that?
This is the conversation between me and Mario. Mario, this guy that fixed the pad, check.
Okay. Is that a true and accurate copy of it?
Yes.
A tender P10, Your Honor?
Objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, P10 is tendered and admitted without objection.
And no objection to P11
Okay, thank you.
or to P12, Your Honor.
All right, great.
So P10. So what's happening here? That this is this after you sent those pictures we just looked at to Mr. Martin's son, Trevor?
Yes. This was on Sunday, July 18th, 2021.
Okay. So you can't tell us what happened. How did this conversation occur?
Well, I know Mario from my brother, basically my brother's neighbor. Mario has done work for me in the past. He poured my patio. So he was originally supposed to do this job originally, but we lost contact. I couldn't get in contact with him. And after I had already basically started with Mr. Martin, I didn't think it was fair to stop him. So I went ahead and continued with Mr. Martin and didn't use Mario. And then I had Mario come out on July 18th. I had got in contact, well, Mario had contacted me in the middle, and then I called him back on July 18th, and that's when he came out to see the things that I noticed, and he verified them.
So he came out and inspected the pad, okay. And then he told you what he thought needed to be done.
Correct.
And what did he tell you needed to be done?
He told me that you could try to fix it, but you can't guarantee it, and couldn't guarantee anyone else's work. And the best bet would be to scrap it and start over so that you know it's right through and through.
Okay. You see P11?
Yes.
And what's going on there?
That was the day that Mario and his crew had came out and started tearing out the original concrete, original slab.
This is the pad that Mr. Martin had poured.
Correct.
Okay. And then you have P12 in front of you?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And what's this exactly?
This is the invoice from Mario. After he had, after he'd done the work, this is the invoice that I got.
Okay. And at the bottom, what does it cover?
Excuse me?
At the bottom,
Oh.
what did he
quote,
or what did he quote? That had to be done.
Remove concrete set form to pour concrete. This includes rebar and wire concrete total $7,210.
Okay. And did you pay him that?
Yes.
Okay. And then at some point you retained me
Correct.
for a flat fee, correct?
Correct.
You remember how much that was?
I think it was $3,500.
That's correct. Okay. You see P13?
Yes.
And what's that?
This is a text message between me and my brother in North Carolina.
I don't object to this, Your Honor. It's hearsay regarding remarks and conversation with your brother. I don't believe he's here to testify.
Is the brother expected to testify?
He is not.
Okay. Just give me a quick proffer, Mr. Harding. Do you expect to elicit any testimony regarding anything the brother said?
No, I'm actually wanting to use this for these pictures on the second page.
Okay.
And then I would say that those are duplicative of what's already been introduced. I think they were, for best I can tell, the other exhibits we've already looked at were just pulled from this text exchange.
Okay, that's fine. I will, hearsay is sustained, assuming there is some, we'll deal with that. As far as the duplicative goes, I'm gonna let it in, I'll sort it all out in a minute. So,
Thank you, Your Honor.
all right, so don't say anything your brother said unless I specifically tell you you can't, okay? You got me? All right, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So turn to the second page. Are these, these are clearer pictures than the ones we had earlier.
Correct.
Tell the court about these.
The only way I know to put it is it's not right. It didn't look uniform. They were indentations. One looked like a footprint, a part of a footprint, shoe print or something like that. And then the other ones, they were just like somebody had chipped away at the top of the concrete.
So is it like dimples or pitting
Pitting.
on both of these pictures? The next picture, are those different locations?
Yes. The one on the bottom is a different location.
Okay. The one on the top is the bottom of the first page, right?
Correct.
Okay. So what's going on in that bottom picture on the third page?
The same exact thing, the denting, the pitting, chipping.
Next page.
Same thing. This is the last picture on the next page is a different picture, but it's almost like a big chip that was in the concrete.
And then those other pictures are similar to, that's just concrete measurements, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that brings us to Exhibit 13.
I don't have any objection to videos, Ron.
Okay, all right, that's 13 through 21. Those are tendered, correct? You're about to tender those?
For 14,
Yes.
I think it's 14 through.
It's 14 to 21.
Oh, okay.
P13 was the one that had the sustained hearsay objection.
Yeah, that was the text messages.
Correct, with the brother.
All right, on your exhibit list, you just have that marked as a video. We're just all gonna correct that real quick and just make that text. And I marked that 13 is admitted over defense objection, 14 through 21 are tendered, correct?
Yes.
And with no objection.
Yes, Ron.
Great, they're tendered and admitted without objection. All right, let's try this again. Do you have it pulled up on your screen there?
I have the file open and have them setting there.
Let's
So
give this a shot.
do I need to double click on one of them?
No, just have something on your screen.
The court knows my opinions on technology.
Well, this technology, there we go.
There we go. All right.
It's either my best friend or my worst enemy. It leaves me no middle ground. So
I blame my age, but that's for a
All
different
right.
discussion.
I'm gonna just leave it as it is and just simply say that you'll play them as you go, and I'm just gonna leave it up.
This is 14.
Whatever it may
But
be.
it's not 4 inches
But
off.
if you had told me you want a Monday chest slam him, chest slam like
Yeah,
that,
but
if you had one, I would
but
do
it,
that.
it's not 4 inches
But
all the way
I
around.
would put you a 2 foot 12 or 2 all around the whole line.
But
deep.
we said 4 inches though, right?
Yeah, I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, sir, I bet you if 4 inches of mud through that thing, more than that. I guarantee you this.
I'm going off of what's on the edge. That I can't measure that. You can't measure that. Can
By
you?
me in there, sir, I'm at 6 or 7 inches.
So when the people come out here with the building and then
I
especially
guarantee
this
you
spot,
have no problem with it. I bet you have no problem with it.
that's gonna void the warranty. Of course they're gonna put it up. They're gonna put it up because it showed up. But if it's 3 inches over here or 3.5 inches, then they're gonna be like, well, your warranty gonna be voided, sir.
No, it ain't gonna-
Yes, it will be. Bro, like we got to do something about this. I can't do that. And then this right here, if we pour 40 feet this way and then it come in a 1/2 inch that way, that means my building gonna be over here. All the way over here. The edge of the other side is gonna be over here. Look at this. I can see this from my eyes.
Okay, hold for a minute. Stay where you at right there. Stay where you at right there. Make it right there.
You gotta come over here. This is where it's at.
Stay right there. You pass 4 inches, man.
Come right here.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Come right here. That's not what we agreed to. We agreed to how. What
If
did
you
we
wanted
agree
10
to?
inches deep, I would have done it.
What did we agree to?
I would have done it.
Let me ask you a question though. What did we agree to?
You told me you want 4 inches. Hey man, put that tape on the end.
Look what 24 at. Look what
Come on,
24 at. You did all that
Come on,
talking
slide.
for nothing. Look what
Come
24
on,
at.
hold right here. Come on,
Look what 24 at.
Come on in.
You still ain't hit 24. You still ain't hit
I
24.
guarantee you.
No, we can't go off that because 2 months from now, 6 months now, 10 years from now, it's gonna be coming. That's when I'm gonna have.
Okay,
this.
tell me what's on your mind. Tell me what you're trying to say.
We gotta fix this. We can't leave this like this. You just went down this line in 4 different spots and saw that it was less than 24.
Okay, so you want to put a little board up and put this little mud by them.
No, I want it fixed all the way around. You can't do that, man. I'm putting a metal building here. I showed you what I was doing.
You want me to dig? You serious? You serious? You
Look,
want me to dig
look,
all
look,
around?
look,
now?
look, look,
You want me to dig
look,
all
look, listen.
You want me to
I'm
dig all around?
I'm
You
not
wanna do
going.
that?
I'm not going back and forth about this. When it came to the money, you said y'all
Hold on,
told me the money got to be right.
Oh, hold on. Listen,
You want it? You
listen.
want? No, listen to me. I paid you all the money, right?
For
I,
inches?
no, listen. I paid you all the money, right?
Right.
Right. You got all your money, so I want the job right. That ain't
Man,
right.
I ain't gonna sit around my 4 inches all around and past
Okay.
that.
All right. We'll wind up in court then,
Hey, man,
and then you'll pay for the whole thing.
I bet y'all won't.
I bet you will.
I guarantee you that.
Look, I just recorded the whole thing, so
Y'all gave
all right.
4 inches.
You didn't
All around that thing right
get the
there.
tape measure. Get the tape measure and
That's
measure.
what you got.
All right. Okay. That's all right. You gonna pay for it in the long run, buddy. You gonna pay for it in the long run. So here go your last chance. You either gonna fix it, or what? All right. Trust me, you can't run from this one. You can't run from this one.
That was 15?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I have these on a flash drive if the court needs them to review later.
Yes, that'd be great. I'm not going to issue from the bench today.
$16.
24. Right there. Tape. All the way over there. Still not at 24. That right there. Concrete stops here. 24 is over there. That's not gonna work.
$17.
Spots like this. Spots like that. Same thing there. Edge is totally uneven. Look at that. Right there. Completely uneven. This whole side is uneven. This side is even worse. Completely uneven. Not a straight line. Curves out. Right there. curves back in right there. That is not 24 feet wide. Look at the side of this. Concrete is not 4 inches thick. This concrete should be 4 inches thick. This is not 4 inches thick. Look how even it is, uneven it is. Look. Dug the mud down and hooked to the bottom of the concrete. And we still are not at 4 inches thick of concrete. Come to the edge. It's hooked to the bottom of the concrete. Disaster. High-low spots all the way. Nothing has been done to this, but the rain is washing the dirt from underneath it, as you can see right here. No one has dug anything out. That's just how the rain just washed the dirt away from underneath. Look at this. Stick your whole hand under there.
So when Mr. Martin was out, what was his solution to the dimensions being off?
Didn't have one. I don't remember, but he mentioned, he asked me if I wanted him to, put more mud on the board. I don't know. Whatever he said in the video as he was walking away, it was no. He had no resolve. He tried no resolve. He tried not to make things right and be a professional about it. No.
Well, didn't he want to just pour like a 2-inch strip?
I'm assuming that's what he was talking about.
Okay.
I have no idea.
And would that have worked with the application you needed?
No.
So why did it have to be 4 inches?
Because I was parking cars, motorcycles, transmissions, motors, all kind of stuff. Metal building, and actually the metal building has these anchor bolts I forgot the measurements of them, but they have to go down so far, so they need at least minimum 4 inches thick concrete to
Anchor into.
anchor the whole entire building.
Okay, anything else you'd like to tell the court?
After
After he left that time, did he ever come back to?
never came back, his son never responded, he never responded, I never heard anything from him.
Okay. Have a seat, Mr. Broder, probably has some questions for us.
Mr. Broder, as you come up, I am going to just clarify my admission of plaintiffs, the one you objected to, plaintiffs
13, Your Honor.
13. There is some hearsay in there from the brother. I just want to let you all know that I will not be paying any attention to that. And I realize I need to clarify that on the record. So
Yes, sir.
overall, I'm going to use the exhibit. I will not pay attention to hearsay, including something from some lawyer that I'm not going to pay any attention to. Floor is yours.
Mr. Thomas, you have no familiarity with concrete construction, do you?
Not other than what I have done at my house.
You don't know anything about building codes? You don't know about the standards for concrete installation?
Not other than what I have done at my house.
And you never had a signed contract with Mr. Martin, did you?
A signed contract, we had a invoice.
So that's a no to my question. You didn't have a signed contract?
Correct.
Okay. You didn't have an email where you were talking about terms back and forth? I need this, I need that. Exchange communications between the two of you?
No, because everything was verbal.
And when Mr. Martin originally came out in June of 2021, you talked about one area to put a pad, and then ultimately, after he quoted that for you, which is that first plaintiff's one, you decided to go to a different area, correct?
Correct.
And you decided to change the dimensions.
Correct.
And that resulted in a different price, correct? And I think you just testified a minute ago that you wanted to put cars onto the concrete pad. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And you actually discussed with Mr. Martin reinforcement for that purpose, correct?
Correct.
And that's how it came about that he told you you could consider putting some rebar in. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And that's, you purchased it and he's the one who actually installed it, correct?
Correct.
Now, you said here that you told him that there was going to be a metal building on this pad.
Correct.
Did you ever provide him the specifications for that building?
Day one, I told him his first specification. I told him the main thing was it needed to be 4 inches thick.
You familiar with what a footing is, sir?
No.
Do you know if you provided him with the information about the depth of an anchor bolt?
I told him that it was a metal building and it was going to be anchored. Yes.
Did you bring those specifications with you here today?
No.
You remember telling me you had those specifications back when I took your deposition?
Yes.
And that was months ago, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you still didn't bring those specifications with you here today?
No.
You didn't bring something showing that you actually handed them over to Mr. Martin?
Well, I wouldn't have no way of showing that I actually handed them over if I handed them over.
Now, you talked to us about a text message that you sent to Trevor Martin that had a picture of a building on it.
Correct.
Are you saying that's the specification that you provided to them, was a picture of a building?
No.
And that picture that you sent over, did it even have dimensions on it?
I'm not sure. That one, I don't think that one did, but I did show them the building with the dimensions on it.
Okay. So the text message that you sent was different than the specifications you said you sent them earlier then?
The text message was different. Well, the text message wasn't about clarifying the dimensions. The text message was about showing what was, where the door was going, where the window was going.
And I think you're saying that was different than something you showed them before?
Correct.
Okay. And that was the day that the concrete was coming to be poured?
Yes, and that was because the drain that you see in the picture, I wanted to make sure that they did not put it or place it in front of the door, where the garage door would be.
Did you ever have your metal building installer come out and look at the pad to see if it would work?
They don't come out.
So that's a no to my question. You didn't have somebody come out and look at it? Okay. You didn't
Well,
have,
I had Mario, which is my original concrete guy, come out and check it. Look at it.
okay, but you didn't have somebody from the metal building company come out and say, hey, this would work, or hey, here's something you can do short of tearing everything up. You didn't have that person come out and look at that for you,
No,
did you?
because they had told me over the phone when they had called to install it that it needs to be at minimum 4 inches thick.
Okay, and
So the
they,
anchor bolts could
Right.
do their job.
and they gave you specifications for that building too,
Yes.
right? Okay. And we still haven't seen those here today. But again, you never actually asked if, with the installer, if there was a way for them to install this building on this pad.
Well, no, because the garage measurements were 24 feet wide, not 23 or less than 24. So
And,
there, it wouldn't have worked.
but we don't know sitting here today
We do
if,
know, because it would have been 24, the garage is 24 feet wide, not 23.
sir, please let me ask my question completely before. We don't know sitting here today if an additional 2 inches of a concrete strip would have been sufficient for them to install. Because you never asked them, right?
I did ask.
And they told you that wouldn't work?
Yes.
They ever send you an email about that?
No, because we talked over the phone.
Okay. You remember taking a deposition?
No, I don't know the terms of which.
Sure. Do you remember giving sworn testimony under oath in my office?
Okay, yeah, I remember.
Okay. Do you remember me asking you if you'd asked the installer if the pad that was prepared would be suitable, and you told me no?
Okay.
Do you have
I don't
any-
remember exactly that day. I don't remember everything on that day. The questions, all of the questions are detailed that I asked.
Your Honor, I'm gonna open up the seal.
You bet. And I have a PDF right here.
Can I approach, Your Honor? I'm gonna draw your attention, page 17, to line 16 through 22. I want you to read that for yourself and let me know when you've done it.
16.
So, does that refresh your recollection
Yes.
when you swore under oath previously, when I asked you if you talked to the installer about whether there was something that could be done or could be installed, and you said you hadn't done that?
Correct.
And in fact, after the work was done, you paid Mr. Martin for it, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and it was the day after that you started saying that you had all these problems.
It was the day after, and that's when I contacted him. It was the day of, was when I noticed him.
And you paid him anyways.
I paid him, yeah, because when I'm not a contractor, I don't lay concrete, so I don't know off the top of my head, or I could pinpoint things. So once I did start seeing problems, that's when I grabbed my tape measure and I measured it.
And do you know that standard construction practice for a concrete pour to be within a decimal mark of a measurement? Now, this rework that you had done by Mr. Cortez. Now, part of that proposal was to put in a footing around the base, correct?
Correct.
And when that work was done, Mr. Cortez actually put in footings around the concrete pad, correct?
Correct.
And you don't know whether footings are something that would have been required
They were
for a
not,
building to be installed upon.
they were not required.
Just one moment, sir. You made 2 payments for this job, correct?
Correct.
All right, and the first payment was made after Mr. Martin went out and did some grading work, correct?
Correct.
It was after he put in the concrete forms, correct?
That was the second thing. Yes.
And so part of what you paid for was for him to get the site ready for there to be a concrete pour, correct?
Correct.
And that was, I think, a little over $3,000, is that right?
Yeah, 3,100.
Thank you. No further questions?
All right, redirect.
Yes. Were you told that $3,100 was for grading, or was it just part of the overall price?
No, it's part of the overall price.
Okay. Did you receive a subpoena to bring any specs here?
No.
In relation to the building?
No.
Okay. You said you don't know about pouring concrete.
Correct.
Can you read a tape measure?
Yes.
Okay. That doesn't.
Well, you know, yeah, I can.
Okay. That doesn't require special skill.
No.
Okay. Signed contract. There was a receipt, correct? Were you paid?
Correct.
And then you ended up paying the full price.
Correct.
If you hadn't entered into a contract with him, would you have paid him anything?
No. Wouldn't give him a dime.
Okay. So, but you paid him the full amount he said was due.
Correct.
And then when you asked him to fix it,
He walked away.
okay. Thank you.
All right, recross.
No, Your Honor.
You may return to your seat at your. Mr. Harding, you may call your next witness.
You get 20 seconds.
Yes. Anybody need a break?
No, Your Honor. I'll bring this to you.
Yeah, that's fine. What I'll end up having you do, if
Or do I
that's,
hold on to it still?
I was supposed to say, I think you filed the original. That's his deposition.
Yes.
You have filed it, so you can keep that. So, there is a copy with the clerk, so if we ever have to review it, we've got it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm going to rest subject to rebuttal, Your Honor.
Okay, let me just get like 3 minutes. I gotta talk to Mr. Hope about something really quick, back in chambers, and then we'll jump right in. So, just 5 minutes, so we'll stretch your legs, and then we'll get started.
Mark's got some demonstratives with him as well.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Would
Yes, sir.
you please introduce yourself to the court?
Did he have his hand up? Didn't look like he did.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The oath is the oath. We're good.
Okay.
We're good. So I dealt with that. I figured that out with the video conferencing that you usually can't see folks' hands because they,
Get cut off.
so it's just the oath is the oath.
You can just leave right here. Mr. Martin, what do you do for a living?
I do masonry work. I do like stone, brick, concrete, frame, everything basically.
How long have you been doing that?
All my life, I'm like 58 now. I'm on the first time on the job. I was 5, my brother was 7. My dad, I'm like 7th generation.
When did you first speak with Mr. Thomas about doing some work for him?
He seen a video of me and we were doing work and we were supposed to. And he called me over, he said he seen me working, he seen my work, he liked me, he wanted to talk to me. So I said, okay, fine. So I had 2 appointments that day. I went to one guy's house, talked to him. Then on the way, I said I'd be a little late, so I rode his house over there and found him.
And when you first went out there, did you come to an agreement about the work you were going to do that very first visit?
Well, he kind of like, when I talked to the guy, he was kind of like, unsure what he wanted to do. He was like, I would like to have a building right here. And I was looking at the scope of the land, it had a lot of depths and flaws in it as well. So I just made some suggestions,
And did you ultimately decide to put the slab somewhere else with him?
Well, it wasn't up to me because what happened was the location he wanted, I told him that he's gonna have like a dozen, maybe somewhat loads of dirt brought in on a town truckload. There's huge trucks with haul like 18 tons, some of them compaction dirt that what he had needed.
And did he decide not to go with that option?
Well, once I told him prior, he talked about like 30, 45 minutes about anything, fishing, hunting, whatever, but it was a long conversation. And then, after then, I tried to get acquainted with him, even though he came out, he spoke to my wife, I introduced her, and then we just talked a little bit more. And then he said, well, I'm gonna call you back. He sounded like he wanted to go ahead, he interested in doing one. I said, okay, sir, all right, thank you.
Okay. And did you end up having another conversation with him where you decided on the size of the pad?
Well, what he did was, he called me, he said, Mr. Martin, he said, this is Mr. Thomas. I said, how you doing? He said, I decided I was not gonna use that area. I decided on the upper end of the house that's the area I may wanna use. And so I told him, I said, whatever, you suggest, sir, that it's still gonna have some prep work done.
Right. And did you end up agreeing to put in a 24 by 40 concrete pad for him?
Going back to like prep work, I told him.
We'll talk about this.
Okay.
I got you.
Yes, sir.
Did you end up agreeing to do a 24 by 40 pad on the property?
Well, he wanted like a 20 by 20, but then he wanted like a 24 by 40.
And so you agreed to install that for him?
Yes, sir.
What did you have to do to the site to prepare it to put in that concrete slab?
Well, I had told him, the details of what, we're gonna have to take place. And he said that, okay, so it was like an hour, 15 minutes, he'll talk with a little bit. So I pulled my machine over, I told him I would do some grade work and different things in order to get it ready. And I wouldn't have dirt brought in,
So you had to do some grading for it, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you also had to do some grading work.
Me and some more guy, yes, sir.
And then once you did that and had it ready, you'd have to put in a form for it, correct?
But, yes, sir, exactly right.
And
But
did you ever agree to a particular thickness of the concrete pad?
Well, I know the respect. I'm gonna say this about the other field, please. Beware. It's okay. Okay. What happened was I went on there the following Saturday, and I told him that I'm gonna have dirt brought in. So I told him that, I'm gonna get everything ready. That means doing compassion work, doing the farm work, and everything. As I said, once I'm complete with that, I need 50% of my money after that. That's for that part.
And so the agreement was.
But I spent my money on dirt and everything. He didn't give me no money. He did not give me no money. I did that, my personal money.
Right, you fronted the money.
Yes,
to do the
sir.
prep.
Started his job with it. Yes,
Right.
sir.
And the agreement was that after you did the prep work, he was gonna pay you half.
Yes, sir. That's exactly right. But he didn't.
Right.
He did not. He did not give me all. He gave me what he had. He said.
Okay. We'll get to that.
Yes, sir.
The exact amount in a minute. But the other part, I just want to understand what the agreement was, as you understood.
Yes, sir.
It
That's
was
correct.
for the 24 by 40 concrete
That's
pad.
24 by 40. Yes, sir.
Okay, and it was supposed to be 4 inches.
Well, it's not 4 inches.
Okay.
I'll get into that.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
All right.
But your understanding was 4 inches.
Yes, sir. 4 inches. That's what they say. Yeah, right.
Now,
People say.
right, and let's talk about that from a guy who does concrete for a living. Okay.
Yes, sir.
When somebody says, or you understand them to want a 4-inch concrete pad, what does that actually mean in terms of the width?
Well, basically, in terms of 4 inches on 2 by 6, 2 by 8, whatever form boat you use, it's always gonna be like 3/4 inch off, a half inch off.
Do you have something to show us what that means in terms of the form you would use for a 4-inch concrete pad?
Yes, sir. It's in the one before we agreed upon using me and Mr. Thomas right here.
And that is the standard form for a
That's
4-inch
the
pad.
one. That's the one he picked.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And any other job where you had a 4-inch pad, that's the form that you would be using.
Yeah. Well, that's what he wanted. That's what he required. That's what he might borrow a silk contract with from him. He was the general contractor, Mr. Thomas.
Can you show the court the actual width of a 4-inch form that you would use?
Now, this certain form here is what? See right there? It's 3 in the height. At 3 in the height, not no 4. See, 4 would be up there, so you still off. It varies. It's just not to be exact.
And that's any board you're gonna get from a hardware store.
Yes, sir. But you go to Home Depot, Lowe's, Blake's, anywhere you go. Yes, sir. You're not gonna get that exact board. No, sir.
And that's when it's the construction industry, when you're putting together a form, that's the size board you would use.
Yes, sir. That's it.
Did Mr. Thomas ever tell you that he needed a concrete footing on the pad?
No, anytime he provided that he's strongly suggested to me that he wanted a 4-inch slab. You know, he wanted it to be 24 wide, 40 feet long, 4 inches.
And what is a concrete footing?
It's called a monolithic slab. I got a print here. This is a print I have. This is a print that I have with what what a person gives me when I first meet them. It's for like a plumber, electrician, framer. You have different sections of prints that you receive when you do this type of work. It never changed. I always have been a print.
And we'll talk about that in just a second. I'm
Yes,
just
sir.
curious, for the rest of us who don't do this for a living, what is a concrete footing? I mean, is it just concrete gets poured out on a flat spot? Is it deeper? Is it wider? What is a footing?
I'd object, Your Honor. He didn't pour any footings. I don't think it's relevant.
Okay, it's good context for me, but I understand the point there. So give me some context.
Yes, sir. Based on that, on this tape, a monolithic slab is 16 inches wide with a red dot, 16 inches wide. That's what I got a tractor. It's a Miss Meggs. And the inspector come on the job, but should have came out there. He would have measured, took the tape out here, tape measure, and he would measure it was 16 inches deep. That's around all preliminary, all around the edges. That's what monolithic slab what should have been required if he had wanted that.
And would you need the monolithic slab if you were going to put a building on it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, real quickly with this demonstrative you got here, can you show the court, I understand this is not for this job, but what it would show you as the concrete man, what you needed to put if there was going to be a house on it?
Okay, well, my sure is gonna be that, okay, this outside of it is gonna be, what I'm telling you, about 16 by 16, and the center will be like 4 inches or 6 inches in one. The outside of it. I'm sorry about that.
Sorry, let's put the right side up there.
Okay, sorry about that. But,
Mr. Hardy, can you see it?
I can't, but it's fine, Your Honor, go ahead.
okay, so this is what happened. It states everything, those details of everything you're gonna have for a slab. Right in the center, all around the dark area you see, that is for the 16 by 16 slab. In the center you have right there one, it all depends on what you're gonna use. In there you sometimes have pothole, which will be in there, you use wire rebar and everything inside that slab. But what happens is, if you put 4 inches in here, you gotta have everything out there, you're gonna have called a weight bearing walls. Anything you build on, you gotta be thicker all around the edges when you build something. And so what he did was, he said he didn't want that 4 inches entire. He didn't want no monolithic slab. He did not want that.
And would you have charged more to install monolithic slab?
You can down, please, thank you so much. But this what happened. This.
And just,
No, slow down. He's gonna ask the question.
let me guide you. So, there was no agreement for you to install those footings for a load-bearing wall.
No, sir.
And you would have charged more to install that if you'd have known that that was what was needed.
I would have to, yes, sir.
And were you just told that he wanted something that he could drive a car on?
Well, when I first met Mr. Thomas, he said he wanted a 4 inch, and he wanted a 24 by 40 foot long, 4 inch thick slab. And so then I thought it's just a real regular, you get these little tin buildings all the time, people put them on dirt, they don't necessarily be on the slab. So I saw he put boxes, I did put furniture on that, I never think nothing of it. So he said, okay, fine, that's what he wanted, so that's what I gave him, you know?
But, and again, he never told you that he was going to put a building on it.
Only reason that came about, once I had did the prep work, I put one fours up, and then we him sit down, I said, I'm finished with it. Then he was sitting in the chair watching me. I said, okay, how you doing, sir? I said, I'm finished now, I'm lower, retract up and everything, ready to go. He said, look, he said, I'm thinking about something. I said, what's that? He said, what if I'm planning on parking cars on there? Do you think I can do it thicker? I said, I suggest you do.
After he suggested he might have cars and you told him it should be thicker.
Yes, sir. I told you the slab. The slab should have been.
Did he say, please install that for me?
No, sir. He said, well, what would it cost? I said, it don't cost about another couple grand, $2,000 more for the cement.
Right.
He said, he said, well, I ain't gonna pay that. I said, well, I'm fine. I said, well, you know, that's what it's gonna take. Then he asked me, he said, what else could I do? He said, what else could I do? This is after the fact, everything was done, all the work, everything. He said, what else could I do? I said, I could make some suggestions, but I wouldn't guarantee it.
And what was one of those suggestions, installing rebar?
I suggest, I said, well, sir, if you're trying to do something, you may, I would try to put some people may put wire, rebar, something like that for reinforcing, if you're gonna put cars and things on. He said, well, how do you think that would cost? I said, I don't know, maybe about $400 or $500. He said, well, I guess I can do that. Now, he didn't give me no money. He said, well, I tell you, I get it myself. I said, fine.
And were you the one who actually installed the rebar after he purchased it?
Well, since me and him went back and forth about that $300 or $400, he was complaining about, he said, well, I tell you what, I worked up here, and he said something in Atlanta, they own Cascade, someplace. He said, I go by that store up there, and I press my own rebar, and why? You didn't put it in there. I didn't charge it. I said, fine.
So you didn't charge him any extra cost for putting it in?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay. Now, there was some talk about places on the slab that were not exactly 4 inches. You remember hearing that testimony?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, in your experience, when you're providing a customer a 4-inch slab, is it unusual for there to be portions of it that are not exactly 4 inches?
It's not going to be this floor here report. It will not be the same. No, sir. I don't know nobody going to do that.
And
they got a street machine. It stretch out 50 feet. And what happens is that thing still going to have floors in it. Walmart floors all have little low places in it.
And if you were just going to use it as a concrete pad to put furniture or something else, would it being 2 inches affect the performance of that slab?
No, not furniture, something. No.
And there was some talk about some imperfections on the surface of the concrete. Do you remember hearing about that?
I'm gonna tell you about that part. Okay. And I straightened him good. I said, look, I'm gonna tell you right now. I said, when I get finished with finish your concrete up, you need to pay me all the money. The first of course you had it first, said fine. He said, call. Now I'm gonna tell you what he did.
But Mr. Martin, I want to just talk about we'll talk about the payment in just a minute, but I want
Yes,
to
sir.
talk about the spots that we showed and saw in the court today.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that something that typically happens?
It's just what I'm saying. Yes, sir. Okay, if job was finished, if fine, everything looked good, he was satisfied. All of a sudden, they start sprinkling rain just a little bit somewhat. I'm saying, so I ended well, I said, it should be okay, fine. I said, that don't hurt too much, nothing else. So I didn't think nothing of it. I'm saying, I was finished.
Right, and so those imperfections are not something that's unusual for a concrete pour.
I ain't gonna get me fixing concrete, that stuff that would happen.
There,
Ain't
there's-
calling me on all everything, no.
There was also some talk about the concrete slab not being completely level. Is it unusual for there to be places on a concrete slab like this where it would not be level?
I put concrete all the time on hills, different little locations. You look down there, a lot down there, that church down there. You look at kind of curving and everything else. You still gonna have. What if you got to get the cord? Because see, you remember now, this guy house sit on a hill. It's a steep hill behind his house. It's steep. That's what we talked about. And first we started talking, it's steep. You have to do certain things and the requirements of the channel of water and everything else. It's a depth.
So, but it wouldn't again be unusual for any concrete pad that's poured for there to be some places where it's not.
They're gonna have, and then about the part you talking about, somebody, these 24, whatever, like that one, then you the one before, that thing so lemon and everything else, I'm saying, any guy is no, they say the same thing.
Right, and so again, if you were just using this as a pad, as you understood it to
Park
cars, other
yeah.
things, would it be 23.5 affect the performance of the slab?
He was probably talking about if the water, like I told him. You talking about, man, about 1 inch or something. If I told him, his part he didn't tell you. He should have told me if I want to pour a slab 24 by 40, I would have poured it 25 wide, 40, 41, 42 long. I would have extra. He was tight. He did not want to do it. He said no.
Right, and again, you would have had that extra width or depth in there if you knew that there was going to be a building on it.
Yeah, I would look it over. I would make sure I would put over at least 6 inches, a foot, or whatever, and more. This guy, he didn't want to spend no money.
And as you understood your agreement, did Mr. Thomas get the slab that he paid for?
He got it. That's what he wanted. I would follow a chain of command. He was my boss. I just subcontracted him. He was the leader of this. He was the chief.
Right, and you're not a general contractor.
And I subcontract from him. That's what he told me what he wanted.
Now, if you had a chance to see the work that was done or see pictures of the new slab that was poured, that was on the property that Mr. Cortez did?
Everything Mr. Cortez was, I suggest that from day one. He said he wanted a 4-inch slab by 24 by 40. I suggest a monitor slab, which is something like this, and that paper I would get. If he told me he could put cars on it, I would suggest that I told him you need to be thicker. And that he chose once I told him it's a thing I could suggest, he should chose try to use wire rebar to try to get by with. I told him it should have been thicker.
Right. And as far as you know, was the new pad that was put in, did it have footings on it?
Yes, sir, like it did.
And did it also have a ramp that was installed on
It
it?
had, as a matter of fact, it had a lamp on dry cars on it.
Right, was the ramp part of your scope of work?
No, sir. That's a 24 by 40. And you look at that picture, that thing like about 10 inches thick all around the edge of it.
And again, you never
But
see.
hold up for a minute, let me show you something else. Let me show you something about the monitor slab. Wait a minute, show you something. Now, this is different. This is different between the distance. This is different. It's called an anchor bolt. It's when a building you do it every 6 feet.
And
Now,
just for clarification, that's not a bolt that had anything to do with this building.
no, it wasn't. This is what you use for what he's trying to state. I'm quite sure that guy, he did it, if whoever Mr. Terry,
I
whoever it is.
object, Your Honor. I mean, we're not here talking about the bolts. I mean,
I'm confused. I'm gonna let him finish. I'm not quite understanding what he's, or was he doing that as a question that you asked, or is this?
I think he wants to show how much deeper you would have to pour it if you were planning on putting an anchor bolt in.
That's fine. Just
Yeah, he mentioned both.
Yeah, yeah. So
I'll
but he didn't
separate-
mention that particular bolt.
No, I'm catching that.
it's just
A
demonstrative.
Tapcon is much smaller than that.
So I know, I'm gonna factor that in, that this is just a demonstrative and nothing
All
more.
right, and so again, quickly, Mr. Martin, just kind of showing the court how much deeper it would need to be for an example of an anchor bolt.
Okay, if you use a 4-inch like this, 4-inch one form, you gotta have a footer down, which I keep on saying about mounted slab, they gotta be down. All the edges need to be deep. You gotta let that sit down and concrete past the 4 inches, 3 inches, 3.5 inches. That's how I got to. You gotta go below that and gotta be down inside a footer for it to catch at the bottom. Hold what it does is it reinforces the building. And then now you got a 2-8 like this. Now this is the bolt he should have used right here. This right here, this like a 2-8. That's for the all around preliminary, but what he had then for the anchor bolt like this and the whole building now. That's what he should have used.
All right, Mr. Booker, you may ask your next question.
Was the concrete slab that you poured for Mr. Thomas consistent with the construction industry standards?
I'd object. He hadn't been qualified as an expert, Your Honor.
He can answer the question.
Which would be the business, Mr. Bowler, please.
Was the concrete slab that you poured for Mr. Thomas consistent with construction industry standards, having done this work for 40 years?
I don't want to be no slab like that.
Well, the one that you provided, and that he agreed to pay for.
He agreed to pay me, but I wasn't the person, I told him, but I did it, I obedient to him, I did what he wanted, that's what he wanted, he was satisfied with it. That's what he told, and I just did what he wanted, that's what he wanted, right? I couldn't do nothing with it.
So if he'd have taken your professional advice, it would have been a different project.
Yes, sir, and we wouldn't be here today.
But the one that you provided is consistent with what he paid you to do.
Yes, that's exactly right. That reminds me, like I say, I can.
That's all I have for you.
Mr. Harding's gonna ask you some
No,
questions.
yes, I apologize. All right.
Isn't it true he paid you every dollar you asked him to pay?
He was short for the payment.
That's not my question. My question is when you got done with the project, and as of today, he owes you no money, correct?
No, he don't owe me no money.
Okay.
No, sir.
And if he didn't pay you the right amount, why did you do the job?
Well, I paid for what he paid me for what he wanted, and that's what I told him what he wanted. That's what he paid me for.
Now, you made a comment earlier about when you were doing the prep work that he didn't pay you.
No, sir.
You had to come out of pocket.
No, sir. I told you, and you were listening. I said, sir, he told you he gave some money before I started job. You said the same statement, and I listened to you. I stated, and I said that I didn't start his job and got some money first. I used my money gas, pulled my machine from Griffin, way to Fathom. I went over there. I called in 3-4 truckloads of dirt to come over there. I paid them folks out of my pocket. Mr. Thomas didn't pay me one dime until I did all the prep work and everything, got everything ready to go, sock phone book, and then I told him that you just pay me a payment of 50% of my money.
Okay. And he paid you $3,100.
It wasn't all of it, no sir.
He didn't pay you the
He was still
$31.
short. He had put it on the bank end of the last payment. I let him lie him as it did.
Well, the exhibit 2 here, you gave him a receipt
fine,
for
fine.
$3,100,
Okay,
correct?
fine. Yes, I gave him $3,100.
And then he paid the balance on the 14th.
Yes, sir. Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you got all your money.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And isn't it true that when you were out there measuring it, it wasn't 24 feet wide uniformly on the pad?
Well, I'm gonna say to you like this, sir. I answer like this. Like what I stated before just then, you can take and you let whatever it may be, sometimes everything you do in a situation, in a frame, everything you do, it's not gonna be it perfectly. But the slab, he refined what he told what he wanted.
Well, how did he choose? You laid the forms, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you would agree that there are places where it is not uniformly 24 feet
I
wide.
don't know whether or not the trash rolled by, moved out when I did it was 24 by 20. I don't know whether like when I went left or something.
I'm not asking you what might have happened. I'm just
I don't
asking
know,
you simply,
but
when
it
you
was there.
measured it, was it,
But it was there when I left there.
when you came back and measured it,
And I
there were
pulled-
places where it wasn't 24 feet wide, correct?
Probably a half an inch or a quarter or something along that ball. And one of the area may be in the center or something. It was not all the way around as you stated, no sir.
Were you satisfied with the straightness of the lines on the outside of the pad when you, sorry, I'm jumping in. Were you satisfied with the lines of the outside of the pad when you were finished and the concrete was dry? Were you satisfied that it was a job well done?
Well, when he told me, like I told before, sir, Your Honor, sir, I told him, I said, look, anytime you do a building or something, you always pull over. You ain't gonna be, if you gonna get a building 24 by 40, you ain't gonna, it ain't gonna fit that perfect. You always pull a little bit over. That way you know you save hand.
Sure, but my question is, were you happy with the job that was done there to your satisfaction? Was it done to your, I'm not asking about his opinion, I'm asking you about your opinion. Was that job done to your satisfaction?
For what I done, what he paid for, I paid it what he paid for, yes, sir.
Okay, you may continue.
Isn't it true he asked for a pad 24 feet by 40 feet by 4 inches thick?
That's exactly right, but it's 300 high.
Okay. Well, if you're the expert, why did you ask him? Do you want an actual 4 foot thick pad, or do you want something different?
Well, he seen the one before was up there where we went. When you go to the store, you're not gonna buy no 4-inch board.
Well, you could have used the 2x8s and just made sure there were 4 inches of concrete, correct?
So you still not gonna be able to go and buy 4-inch board.
No. A 2x8 would be higher than 4 inches.
2-8 never discussed this or with this one before.
Well, he never talked to you about what size forms. He told you he wanted.
He wanted 2-8 up there. I would put it to him. He said he wanted a 4-inch board, 4 inches.
He didn't tell you he wanted a 4-inch board. He told you he wanted a 4-inch pad, correct?
Well, I use a 1x4 like I do any other job. I do a driveway. That's what any contractor use. 1x4 driveway. That's what they form up all. That's what they do. That's what he wanted.
No, you chose the 1x4. He never chose that. He told you a 4-inch thick pad, correct?
Well, I use a 1x4 every job. I had no like complaints out of it.
Not my question. I'm saying he didn't pick that board, correct? You did.
Well, I use a 1x4.
Okay. And he didn't pick it, correct?
He looked at it. He was satisfied with it. He had to have some type of scripture to say it something.
You picked the board.
Well, he looked at it. And I told him I want you. I told him I want you. He said, yeah. He said we were fine with it.
Yeah, well, when he told you he wanted a 4-inch thick pad, you're the expert. Did you ask him if he actually wanted a actual 4-inch pad, or you want to use something different?
Well, if he had told me, if we both made that decision, he looked at it, I looked at it, he said, I use 1x4. He had right, use 1x4, whatever we use. So that's basically how you feel about it. Somebody called me down, still use 1x4.
Okay, so you prepped the ground, correct?
Yes, right.
I mean, so you said you brought in some dirt.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why wasn't the concrete level?
And, look, if the concrete was, you may have a little, probably a little, you're not gonna find a whole entire thing that's perfectly level. You're not gonna do that.
Well, some of these, I mean, that one spot was off an inch or more.
I don't know, man. The way I'm telling you that you're not gonna find somebody that's gonna put something perfectly level like that. That's not so.
And he didn't. You keep talking about footings, but he didn't ask you to pour footings, correct?
Well, this is the thing about it. And you know, the second side you had footings on it. Cause this what happened.
Well, he may have gotten footings later, but
Let's talk about the
did he
footing.
pay you
Let's
for
talk
footing?
about the footing part. The second job he had done had footings on it.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: if you'd have poured footings, would that have magically made that pad 24 feet?
Oh well, I'll tell you what happened. We won't be here today. I guarantee you the thickness that he wanted. I suggested when he come in conversation and he told me, he said well, what can I do? I'm gonna put parked cars on. I said, you need to put them on the slab instead of that and call more money. I advised him before that happened. I advised him. I said, look, you need to pour this thicker. He said, no, I'm not gonna pay the money.
Well, you needed to pour it thicker, right? I mean,
I'm not
he
gonna
told
pour
you
it
how
thicker
thick you
than-
needed it.
I'm not gonna put no concrete for him, no basement, for no footers and thickness in the center. I'm not gonna do that. That's what it is.
And footers don't have anything with it doing with the surface being even, correct?
What I'm saying is, sir, I do concrete all the time. I don't ever have a problem with no one, Mr. Thomas over there, you know? I've been building stuff like before.
Okay, when it was getting ready to rain, did you put plastic over it to protect it?
Well, other than that, like I said, with Howard.
So no, you didn't put plastic over it.
Well, I'm saying, why? Normally, people, that's what you do. People don't cover everything they put like that. I've covered it before and said people don't have to, and we look at 1, 2 inspection and that one, you know, I can't help what God do, but if he did this and that, I can't help with certain thing like that.
Did you see the anchor bolts?
And I'm gonna say that, okay, let me say it to you. If he had the right, he fit for that, if he had some patch somewhere, he could have wanted covered. That was he paid me, he was satisfied, and I was gone. I don't know what he did after I left.
He paid you $75 to do the job according to the specs, right?
I don't know what he done after I left.
Okay.
And what he come in with, how he taped me in one, he might have took a hammer on right there and done it. I don't know when he did that. He might have did it himself. I don't know when he done
You say you never saw the specs of the building.
And he showed me a picture later on.
Okay, so
he showed these here.
I don't care about those. It's not, it has nothing to do with this case.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So you don't know what anchor bolts they were going to use to put down the.
He never
Right.
mentioned like to go to me.
Okay.
If he had, I would put him in there and do it for him.
But he told you he was putting cars on it before you poured, right?
Well, I told him too, he can make people pour more concrete.
Okay.
And he decided to use Y and Reebok. That was his choice. He bought it himself, not me.
Well, he said I'm putting cars on it, and you suggested that he put reinforcement in it.
No,
right?
I did not. I told him, I said, look, I'm not gonna guarantee what I suggest you to do, but people, what it does is they use reinforce, they use Reebok and Y. I said, that's up to you. I said, that's what you chose to do, not me. I'm not no guarantee.
Well, so if the pad wasn't level because the ground wasn't level, that was your grading, right?
Look, what I'm telling you is that the slab was fine. The slab was fine. I don't do this on the regular right now. What we have to do, so if we had to do that mono slab like I suggested, we'll be here today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We good?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down.
Yes, sir.
Collect your stuff.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Rudder, as he's coming down, you may call your next witness.
We're gonna rest, Your Honor.
You both?
I'd like to call Mr. Cortez for a quick rebuttal, Your Honor.
He's out in the hallway.
Cortez? It is Cortez, right? Cortez. Yeah.
You can come as well if you like.
This is Mario Cortez.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cortez, if you'll come up here towards me and come across.
Before you sit down, you raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
All right, have a seat. Would you state your name for the record?
Mario Cortez.
Okay. What do you do for a living, Mr. Cortez?
We do concrete construction
Okay. How long you done that?
for 22 years.
Okay. Do you work for a company?
Yes, I work for a company.
Okay. What do you do? What's your role with the company?
I'm the foreman.
Okay. Like a supervisor?
Yes.
Do you have a crew?
Yeah.
Okay. You said 23 years?
Yeah.
Okay. How much concrete you think you've poured in 23 years?
A lot.
Every day you pour concrete?
Every day.
Okay. And you supervise a crew?
Yes.
And where'd you learn how to pour concrete?
How did I learn?
Where did you learn? Yeah.
Oh, here, United States.
Okay. The company you work for teach you?
Yes.
you familiar with the standards that are involved with pouring concrete?
Yeah.
Okay, and how did you become familiar with those standards?
Second,
Where did you learn the standards for pouring concrete?
oh, because we do like the buildings and that's how they are there.
Okay, does your company have standards that they abide by when you pour?
Yeah.
Okay. Tender him as an expert in the concrete field, Your Honor.
The injection.
I don't know if the foundation's been laid, but I can see.
I'll allow the testimony. If I deem it not credible, I'll sort it out myself. You may continue.
Yes, sir. So you have a stack of items in front of you. You see those papers?
Yes.
Okay. You had an opportunity to look at this pad, right? That was poured at Mr. Thomas's.
Yes.
Do you think this pad was, in your opinion, poured in compliance with how concrete should be poured?
No.
Tell the court what wasn't done that you think.
No,
Like Exhibit 2, there's this pitting. Is that typical of concrete?
no.
Okay. So if Mr. Martin said this was from rain, what would your response be to that?
When it's raining, it's the whole slab, not only several spots.
Okay. Do you usually cover a slab if it's going to rain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Polish to follow.
And can you go to number 4? And you can unclip those if it's easier for you. It might be. So it's been established that their agreement was a 24 by 40 by 4 inches thick. In your understanding of the standards of pouring concrete, if I tell you I want a 4-inch thick pad, how thick should the actual pad be?
4 inches.
Okay. So it doesn't depend on the form that you use?
Yeah, because normally they call it 4 inches, but 2 by 4 is actually 3.5.
Okay.
So when you grade it, you have to put a screen, make sure you got 4 inches.
Okay. So it should be a 4-inch thick pad?
Yeah.
Okay. And then if you want to look through 4 there, you see where it's, when you measured the pad, was it 24 inches uniformly? 24 feet?
Yeah.
Was it?
No.
See, you found spots where it wasn't?
Yeah, because that's when we put the string line, and then it was straight. That's so perfect.
So the edge wasn't square.
No.
And the overall length in more than one place
Yeah.
wasn't 24 feet?
Yeah.
Is that common in the concrete industry?
No.
Okay. And then that next page is again showing it's not square, right?
No.
Is that common work in the concrete industry?
No.
When you pour concrete, is it generally your practice to make the area where you're going to pour it flat and level
Flat level, and you have to be squared out.
and square?
Yeah.
Okay. So in 5, there's a picture. I'm going to say it's 23 foot 10 inches, 10 and 3/8 inches about. You see that?
Yeah.
Was that the only place, or were there other places where it was like that?
That's, because that's not a square, so that's in and out. So,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there were more than one place.
Yeah, more than one place.
And then on number 6, piece 6, is this thickness indicative of somebody who paid for 4-inch thick?
Yeah, you see, it's 3 3/4.
Okay. But again, if you contracted for 4 inches thick, you'd pour it 4 inches
4
thick.
inches.
Okay. Next page. You want to flip the page?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And how thick's that spot?
3 1/4.
Okay. And basically, there's a bunch of these, right? But in your expert opinion, this is,
You see this one
yeah.
on the second page. You look at the tape, it was all the way to the door, but that was less than 3 1/4. You maybe just the concrete, you see it's almost 3/4.
Yeah,
So actually, this one, you see this page, you see like 3/4 on the ground, so it's almost 2 and,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah, see? So
So-
you can see the picture, this one, like right here, you know, it's not a flat, so some places it was less than 3
Yeah.
inches.
and there were several places where it was less than 4 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go to 7 real quick, the first page. Is it common practice to have a dip like that in a pad?
No, that's supposed to be flat,
Okay, so level,
level, yeah,
square.
yeah, level and square.
So when you see that, what does that tell you about the grading job or the prep work?
This is not the grading, this is the level on top. That's the same thing, we put the string line from one corner to the other corner, and you see the loads about.
Yeah, what causes that, you know?
Because this one, when, you know, when they working, you have to be very narrow, so from top to the form, you set the form on levels, that way they can be level.
Okay. And then you wouldn't have that gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let me ask you this, do footings make a pad bigger?
The footings?
Yeah, so if Mr. Martin says, oh, if he'd have put footings, you know, that would have fixed it, but it wouldn't have made the pad 24 feet wide, right?
No.
They'd have been under,
Footings gone down, yeah.
they'd be below the pad, right? It has nothing to do with the width.
No.
Okay. So when you went out and looked at this, do you think this was a job done by, in accordance with how concrete should be poured?
No.
Okay. And then you made a determination that you thought it should be removed?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, they bring the building and drilling for the anchor post, it's not enough 2 3/4 or 3 inches, you know.
Yeah.
They not hold the building.
And, you know, Mr. Martin suggesting that they pour a 2-inch strip along the edge to even it out. Would that have worked?
No,
You think the weight of the building would have affected it?
yeah, because you know, it's right in the edge, how
Yeah.
you gonna hold 2 inches?
Yeah. Okay. And then 12, that's your invoice for the work you did?
Yes,
Okay. And was that paid?
Yeah.
Okay, the 7210?
yes.
Okay. Mr. Broder is gonna have some questions for you, so if you could just sit right there.
All right, Mr. Broder?
Hello, Mr. Cortez. My name is Carl Broder. Just a few questions for you. In your experience, when you're pouring a slab for a building to put on top of it, you put in footings, correct? And you would also, if you knew that you were going to be putting a building on a slab, make sure you had a little extra out there just to make sure you had some room over the edge, right? You wouldn't want to be short, you want to be a little bit longer.
Not supposed to.
Well, so you're saying you wouldn't want to have a little bit of extra concrete available there on the end to make sure you got plenty of room for a building in case things are a little bit off?
Not supposed to.
So it's supposed to be 24 by 40 down to all the zeros.
Yeah.
And you do that on every job. There's never any deviation in the width or the depth of the pad that you pour.
Not supposed to, because when you got the dimensions, you square it out right, you know, the building, they got like siding or something, so the water, they can go down. If you left a little bit over, you hold water and go inside the building.
You want to be as exact as possible if you know that a building's going on.
You know, if you know how to do the job right, you got your tape and everything, you square it out right, but you left like a gap, like did I say, you just hold water.
And I guess the point I'm trying to get at here, there's going to be some difference between a slab that you're pouring for a building to go on as opposed to just a regular old concrete pad.
Yeah.
There's different work involved, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, And we know that because when you went and you redid the concrete pad, you dug and put in footings, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you have no idea what the agreement was between these two gentlemen because you came in after that was all done, right? Oh, that's
Yes.
okay. And certainly, you received some financial benefit from digging this up and then redoing it, right? You didn't do it for free. Okay, no further questions.
All right, redirect?
No, sir.
Okay. May he be released?
Yes.
All right, your testimony is complete, and you are free to go. If you'll just leave those there.
Thank you for your time. We rest now. He was our final witness.
Any sir rebuttal? All right, thanks you all. Have a safe drive back to wherever you're heading to from here.
We're done, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, then the evidence is closed. Mr. Harding, as plaintiff, you get to go first, last, or both?
Well, I'd waive in reserve. You're gonna make a final?
Just
I'd waive altogether if you want to, but.
No,
I don't intend to talk long.
No, that's all right. I'd love to. I'll just sum it up.
You know, Your Honor, the issue that we have here is a gentleman who made the mistake that I've made in my life, which is I'm going to be general contractor. And instead of paying somebody 10% to make sure that all the P's and the Q's and the T's are crossed, I'm going to go talk to a metal installer, then I'm going to talk to a concrete guy, and I'm not going to put them in touch with one another, and I'm not going to exchange the information that is needed for people to do their jobs. And the concrete is not like putting together a chair from IKEA, okay? Once it's poured, it's done. And when the concrete truck is on the way and that concrete's in there spinning, it can't sit there and wait while we figure out exactly what it is somebody wants to do. And so it has to go and it has to be poured. And so my client testified repeatedly that if you told me that this is what he was going to do, I was going to do it. And you don't stay in this business 40 years cutting corners for people and not giving them what they need for the job that they want. And that information was never given here. Now, I understand the complaint that, you know, it's not smooth as glass. You've got some places aren't exactly square, maybe a little bit of a bend in them. We understand that. But if all you know is the concrete contractors, I'm going in to put a pad that maybe you're going to drive a car on or put a patio or whatever else you're going to do, then that's not going to affect ultimately the performance of it. That it's not going to crack, that it's going to stay stable, and it's going to do what you need to do. And my client is basically being asked to pay for Mr. Thomas's mistake and not knowing what it is that he needed and not exchange that information, and even checking with the installer to see if there's some other workaround that could be done. And so the other part of this is there's certainly prep work that my client performed. That's not going to be accounted for in the money that they're asking for. And essentially, this is like the old law school case where they're complaining about the type of pipe that went into the wall. You know, do you tear the whole building down because the pipe is maybe not the exact material, the exact right size? No, it still performs the function it's supposed to perform, and it's what you paid for under the circumstances. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Harding?
Yes, sir. Well, he's not paying for my client's mistake. My client didn't pour the concrete. In his own admission, he knew there were cars going on it. If he didn't think that that pad would have held him, he should have said, hey, I'm not pouring this. He's the expert in concrete. He poured it. He poured it out of square. He poured it out of level. This isn't just some dimples. I mean, there's an inch in the leveling that's off. When you look at the sides, you can see where the sides go in. I mean, it's almost 2 inches off in some places. My client didn't pour the concrete. The defendant poured the concrete. And this isn't the pipe that's in a house that is performing a function. This pad was unusable. You couldn't add a 2-inch strip. The weight of the building would have peeled that off, would have pushed it right to the side. The weight of the building would have. He knew by his own admission he wanted a 24 by 40 by 4 inches thick. And if he's the expert in the field, like he purported to be, he should have known maybe that, hey, this is the form we use. And asked Mr. Thomas, do you want actual 4 inches thick? He didn't do that. He said, he picked the form. Mr. Mario Cortez says, no, if you say 4 inches, it's supposed to be 4 inches. You use a different form. Um, Mr. Martin didn't know the specs on the building, is what he said, so he doesn't know, you know. The testimony is a 4-inch thick pad would have been sufficient to put this building in. That's the unrefuted testimony. But back to it, when you look at the pictures, this is not a job well done. The thickness is way off from one end to the other. It's not square, it's not level. The surface, if it had been rained all over, it would have been more uniform. But these are spots that you can see on the surface of this concrete. In addition, when you watch the video and Mr. Thomas is trying to address these things, I mean, the defendant just walks off. He just leaves. You know, I'd argue that's bad faith. You know, if you're here trying to work it out, let's work it out. But, you know, he walked off. So we'd ask for the $72.10, which was paid, and then as he testified, the $3,500 attorney's fees for a total of $10,710. Thank you.
All right, last thing I want to address is the sanctions regarding missing the mediation. If there's anything else before I pivot to that?
No, Your Honor.
All right, what's your request on that, Mr.
Just stand on the brief and the affidavit I prepared regarding the fees that we incurred, and we just note that not showing up to mediation is not exactly showing good faith either.
Okay. All right, I'm going to take all that under advisement.
I think I responded.
Oh yeah, y'all.
Yeah, I did.
Y'all, that's a well briefed issue. So y'all giving me great
I
briefs.
think we said some case law.
Okay, I already told y'all I was going to take this under advisement. I appreciate y'all's patience as we try to get everybody resolved today. Sorry to keep you after 5 on Friday, but do y'all have anything else that you need to address?
Well, I have the videos on this.
I'll take that.
Did you want to look at real quick?
I trust you don't have any.
Well, I gave you the same.
How about this? I'll tell both of you if that's not.
Yeah, please let me know if
Yeah.
there's anything.
So, all right, I'll make a copy of this, and I'm going to keep this packet here.
Oh, you can keep that.
Perfect, okay. And I will, as far as, gentlemen, what I'll be doing is once I've issued my decision, I'll be e-filing it, and your attorneys will receive electronic copies. I do not expect this to be a long one. If you have a question, you can ask Mr. Rudder. But I just want to let you all know how my decision will come out, and it'll go to their email addresses, and then they will let you know my decision. I can tell you confidently, you will receive my decision within 30 days. You'll very likely receive it soon. So, but that way you know that you're not just leaving to go wait forever. So I want to give you all timelines so that you all knew what was going to happen next. Okay, anything else, Mr. Harding?
No, Your Honor. Thank you for accommodating us.
All right, well, like I said, I appreciate y'all being willing to stay late with us. Court, I gotta call 4 more cases real quick, and then we're gonna call it a day.
Would it be excused, Your Honor?
Yeah, you're gonna excuse me. All right, so the last 4 cases. Yes, sorry, Debbie. Back to order. So I've got 4 more cases I gotta call in open court. 21 SB 145, US Auto versus Macon. That is off. That case is on track. 21 SB 209, Credit Union versus Mason. That case is dismissed. For 21 SB 257, Technical Ed versus Parks. That case is also dismissed for lack of service. 21 SB 306, US Auto versus McKibbins. That one is also dismissed for lack of service. For record purposes, there's the attorney of record on those 4 cases is not here, but that's okay. You let us know when it comes to that. So, all right, that's it. Court is adjourned. It's 5:10. Thanks everybody for staying late on Friday.